Kyle Evans stared at the computer screen, his eyes tired from the bright lights and endless lines of text. He was the main engineer aboard the spaceship Aurora, and the ship had a serious problem. For days, the Aurora had been losing fuel. It was slow, steady, and impossible to find. Kyle had checked every pipe, tank, and valve. He had gone through every piece of equipment and still found nothing. Everyone on board depended on him, and the pressure was making him nervous. "Kyle, any updates?" Captain LaVarbonette asked over the radio, her voice filled with concern. She was a fair leader, but the crew was getting restless, and Kyle knew she needed answers. "Not yet, Captain. I'm still working on it," Kyle replied, rubbing his tired eyes. He could hear the disappointment in her sigh before she closed the channel. Kyle decided he couldn't keep sitting around. He got up, grabbed his tools, and started checking again. The crew watched quietly as he moved from section to section, their eyes filled with questions. He knew they were all thinking about their families back on Earth, about getting home safely. Kyle felt responsible, and the weight on his shoulders got heavier each day. Hours passed, and Kyle grew more frustrated. He checked his watch. It was late, and most of the crew had already gone to sleep. He was alone, surrounded by the soft hum of the ship's engines. He sighed and turned to go back to his quarters when he noticed something strange, a faint glow on the floor. He knelt down and touched it. The substance was cool, slippery, and had a soft glow. He had never seen anything like it before. Curious, he followed the glowing drops along the corridor. They led him through the ship's narrow hallways, past storage rooms and empty bays, and finally stopped at an old storage area no longer used. He paused in front of the door, unsure about what might be inside. Taking a deep breath, he opened it slowly. Inside, he found the room dark except for a small figure in the corner. His heart raced. There, crouched in the shadows, was a slender, strange-looking girl. She had long silver hair and pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the darkness. Her large eyes were bright, like twin stars, and she was holding a small tube connected to the Aurora's fuel line. "Hey, what are you doing?" Kyle called out, startled. The girl jumped in surprise, dropping the tube and scrambling backward. She looked afraid, her glowing eyes wide with fear. Kyle stepped closer, holding his hands out to show he meant no harm. "Please don't be scared. I'm not going to hurt you," he said gently, trying to keep his voice calm. "Who are you?" She hesitated, looking around as if searching for an escape, but the room was small, and there was nowhere to run. Finally she spoke, her voice soft and musical. "I am Zara. Please, I mean no harm. I need this to survive," she explained, pointing nervously at the fuel line. Kyle frowned in confusion. "You need fuel? To survive?" Zara nodded slowly, lowering her eyes in shame. "My people, we can live off substances like this. It gives us energy. I was lost. My ship crashed. I hid here when your ship landed on my world. I didn't want to cause trouble." Kyle felt a wave of sympathy for the alien girl. "How much have you taken?" "We've lost a lot of fuel." "Very little, just enough to survive," Zara whispered, her voice filled with sincerity. "I tried to take as little as possible." Kyle sighed deeply, conflicted. "Look, Zara, I understand you're scared and alone. But if we run out of fuel, everyone on this ship could die. We won't have enough to get home." She looked terrified, her eyes wide and pleading. "Please don't tell anyone. They'll hurt me." Kyle stared at her, uncertain what to do. He could see she was truly afraid, and he believed her words. He couldn't leave her to starve, but he also had a duty to protect his crew. Thinking quickly, he came up with a temporary solution. "All right, Zara, I won't tell anyone for now. But you have to promise me you'll stop taking fuel until we figure something out." "I'll find another way to help you," Kyle assured her firmly. Zara nodded eagerly, relief flooding her delicate face. Thank you. I promise I won't take any more." Kyle quietly fixed the fuel line and hid the traces of Zara's presence. He left her with some food and water from the ship's supplies, though he wasn't sure if she could survive off them. Zara watched him silently, her eyes filled with gratitude and fear. Back in his quarters, Kyle lay awake, unable to sleep. His thoughts raced, torn between duty and compassion. He knew he had taken a huge risk. If the crew found out, he would face serious trouble. But he also knew he couldn't turn his back on someone in need. The next morning, Kyle woke early and went back to his normal duties, keeping an eye on Zara's hiding spot. He acted as if nothing had changed, carefully keeping his secret hidden. The crew seemed calmer, reassured by Kyle's confident demeanor, believing he was close to solving the fuel leak problem, but Kyle's relief was short-lived. Later that afternoon, Alicia Grant, another engineer on the Aurora, noticed Kyle acting strangely. She had worked closely with him for years and knew when something was wrong. "Hey, Kyle," she called out, watching him closely. "You okay?" "You look stressed." "I'm fine," Kyle said quickly, forcing a smile. "And just tired from all the inspections." Alicia didn't seem convinced. She watched him carefully, noting how he avoided her eyes. "All right," she replied slowly. "If you need anything, let me know." Kyle nodded, grateful she didn't press further. He knew Alicia was smart and observant, and it was only a matter of time before she found out something was wrong. He had to find a real solution fast, for both Zara and the crew. Determined, Kyle spent his free time researching fuel alternatives. He read through countless files, looking for something that could help Zara survive without endangering the ship. His heart sank each time he failed to find anything useful, but he refused to give up. Days passed, and Kyle carefully visited Zara each night, checking on her condition and giving her food and water. Zara grew weaker without the fuel, her bright eyes becoming dimmer each day. Kyle knew time was running out. He had to find a solution soon, or Zara would not survive. He struggled with guilt and worry, unable to ignore the quiet alien girl's desperate situation. Each night, Zara thanked him quietly, never complaining about her weakness or the difficult conditions. Kyle admired her strength and courage, determined to protect her. Despite the mounting challenges, Kyle stayed hopeful, believing he would find a solution. The crew trusted him to keep them safe, and Zara trusted him to save her life. He couldn't let anyone down. Kyle knew the coming days would be critical, and he braced himself for whatever might come next. Kyle Evans spent the following day deeply worried. He couldn't stop thinking about Zara, hidden away in the storage bay. He knew he had promised to help her, but every passing hour made it harder to keep his secret. He moved around the Aurora, mechanically doing his work but always distracted. Alicia Grant noticed Kyle's distant look again. She had worked beside him for years and could sense something was deeply wrong. Alicia decided she needed to find out what Kyle was hiding. That night she quietly followed him as he made his rounds. Kyle walked carefully through the ship, checking around to ensure no one saw him. Alicia remained hidden, keeping a safe distance. She watched curiously as Kyle opened the storage bay door and quickly slipped inside. Alicia waited for a moment, took a deep breath, and quietly stepped closer. Inside the dark storage room, Zara sat in a corner, her eyes dimmer than before. She looked weaker, struggling to sit up as Kyle approached her. "Kyle," Zara whispered, softly, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry, I can't hold on much longer without fuel." Kyle knelt beside her, concern etched deeply on his face. "Just hang on a little longer, Zara. I'll find a solution, I promise." Alicia stood frozen at the doorway, shocked at what she saw. She could hardly believe her eyes. There was an alien girl aboard their ship, and Kyle had been hiding her. Zara looked fragile and helpless, not dangerous at all. "Kyle, what's going on here?" Alicia finally spoke, stepping forward from the shadows. Kyle jumped, startled, and turned. Quickly, Zara shrank back, frightened. Kyle raised his hand reassuringly, trying to calm Zara. "Alicia, please, don't tell anyone," Kyle pleaded, desperation in his voice. "Zara isn't dangerous, she's just lost and starving." Alicia studied Zara closely, seeing her frail state clearly. "Kyle, you should have told me. You shouldn't deal with this alone." "I was afraid," Kyle admitted honestly. "I didn't want to put anyone else at risk. Zara needs our help, but the ship also needs fuel. I didn't know what else to do." Alicia sighed, nodding in understanding. "All right, I'm here now. Let's find a way to help her together." Relief washed over Kyle's face, grateful he no longer had to bear the weight alone. "Thank you, Alicia, I mean it." Zara looked cautiously at Alicia, sensing her kindness. "Thank you," Zara whispered, her voice weak but filled with genuine gratitude. "Kyle." And Alicia quietly discussed possible solutions late into the night. They examined the ship's database, hoping to find something that Zara's body could use without harming the Aurora's fuel supply. Days passed, and despite their secret efforts, Zara grew weaker. Kyle and Alicia felt more anxious each day. Their repeated searches for a solution yielded nothing helpful. Zara tried to reassure them, never complaining, always quietly grateful for their efforts. Meanwhile, Captain LeVar Bennett grew increasingly concerned about the fuel situation. She called a meeting with the crew, her voice serious and firm. Everyone gathered anxiously, waiting for answers. "We still haven't found the fuel leak," Captain Bennett stated, her eyes stern as she looked directly at Kyle. "Kyle, you're our best engineer. Do you have any idea at all where the problem might be?" Kyle swallowed nervously, feeling all eyes on him. "Captain, I've checked everything. The systems show no leaks. I honestly don't know where the fuel is going." Captain Bennett sighed deeply, frustration clear in her expression. "We need a solution soon, Kyle. Our lives depend on this." After the meeting, Kyle and Alicia returned to Zara, even more determined. They knew time was running out and Zara was getting weaker each day. Her pale blue skin had become almost gray, and her eyes were dull. Late one night, Kyle stumbled upon an old file in Aurora's database. It mentioned experiments with synthetic nutrients designed for space travel emergencies. Excitement filled him as he quickly read through the details. He immediately shared his findings with Alicia. "This might work," Alicia said hopefully, scanning the file quickly. "If we can make this synthetic nutrient, Zara might be able to survive without consuming fuel." Kyle nodded eagerly. "Let's start immediately. We don't have much time left." Working secretly in the lab late into the night, Kyle and Alicia began gathering the necessary chemicals. It was delicate work, and they had to be careful not to draw attention. They mixed, tested, and refined the nutrient until finally they created a stable compound. Feeling hopeful, they hurried back to Zara. She was barely conscious, her breathing shallow and slow. Kyle carefully gave her the nutrient. Zara's eyes opened slowly, and after several tense moments, her color began to return. Her breathing steadied, and her eyes brightened slightly. "It's working," Kyle whispered in relief, feeling the tension. "Leave his shoulders." Zara smiled weakly, looking gratefully at Kyle and Alicia. "Thank you both. You've saved my life." The next few days passed quietly. Zara slowly regained her strength, hidden safely within the storage bay. Kyle and Alicia checked on her regularly, amazed at her recovery. Zara's gentle spirit and deep gratitude made them even more determined to protect her. As Zara grew stronger, she began sharing more about herself and her homeworld. She explained her people's unique biology and how they had evolved to survive off various energy sources. Kyle and Alicia listened intently, fascinated by her stories and gaining valuable insight. Kyle and Alicia finally felt comfortable enough to bring Zara more openly into the engineering deck. Though they remained cautious, Zara was thrilled to explore more of the ship, her curiosity evident in her wide eyes as she took in everything around her. One evening, as Zara was carefully examining a control panel, Captain Bennett unexpectedly appeared in the engineering bay. Kyle and Alicia froze, their hearts racing as Captain Bennett stared in disbelief. "What is going on here?" Captain Bennett demanded sharply, looking directly at Zara. Kyle stepped forward protectively. "Captain, please let us explain." "Zara isn't dangerous. She's been stranded and needed our help." Captain Bennett listened closely as Kyle and Alicia quickly recounted everything, from discovering Zara to creating the nutrient. Zara stood quietly, nervous but composed. When they finished, Captain Bennett was silent for a long moment, clearly weighing her options. She finally spoke, her voice calmer but still stern. "You took a big risk hiding this from me," she said, looking directly at Kyle and Alicia. "But I understand why." She turned her attention to Zara. You say you mean no harm, Zara? Zara nodded. Sincerely, I promise. I only wish to survive and not hurt anyone. Captain Bennett considered Zara carefully. If you're truly willing to help us, we could use your knowledge. Our fuel problem still hasn't gone away. Zara eagerly stepped forward. I would be honored to help your crew. You've saved my life. It's the least I can do. Captain Bennett sighed deeply, her expression softening slightly. All right, Zara, welcome aboard the Aurora. Kyle and Alicia exchanged relieved smiles, their tension finally easing. Zara's face brightened with joy and gratitude, understanding that she was now officially part of their team. They had faced enormous challenges, but together, they found solutions and formed a unique bond. Kyle knew their problems weren't completely solved yet, but he felt hopeful. With Zara now openly among them, they had a new ally, one whose knowledge could change everything. He felt confident that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Kyle Evans woke early the next day, feeling a mix of relief and nervousness. Zara was now openly part of the Aurora crew, and he knew that would change many things. He walked quickly to the engineering bay, where Zara and Alicia Grant were already waiting for him. Zara looked healthier than before, her pale blue skin glowing softly under the ship's lights. Good morning, Kyle, Zara greeted him warmly, her eyes shining with gratitude. Kyle smiled back, relieved to see her stronger. Morning, Zara, Alicia. Did Captain Bennett say anything more? She wants us to meet her later today, Alicia replied, sounding slightly worried. She wants Zara to help solve the fuel problem quickly. Zara nodded, determined. I will do everything I can. The three of them spent the morning preparing their reports and organizing data to present to Captain Bennett. Kyle felt hopeful but still worried. Zara's knowledge was valuable, but he wasn't sure how the crew would respond to having an alien aboard. At midday, they went to Captain Bennett's office. Captain Bennett was seated behind her desk, looking serious but composed. She motioned for them to sit. All right, Zara, Captain Bennett began calmly. We've lost a lot of fuel, and our supplies are very low. You say your people survive by using fuel. Do you think you can help us find a solution? Zara nodded quickly, her bright eyes meeting the captain's firmly. Yes, Captain. My people understand fuel differently than humans. Let me see your fuel system closely. I might notice something you have missed. Captain Bennett agreed, and they went to the main engine room. Zara moved carefully around the equipment, studying every pipe and tank closely. Her fingers traced gently along surfaces, her eyes focused deeply. Kyle watched with curiosity, amazed by Zara's careful, methodical approach. After several hours of inspecting and testing, Zara paused. I think I see the problem. Your sensors don't detect very small leaks. The fuel is slowly leaking through tiny cracks here. She pointed to a section of pipes that looked perfect to Kyle and Alicia. Captain Bennett leaned closer, skeptical. These pipes seem fine, Zara. Our sensors detected nothing. Your technology is advanced, but my species is extremely sensitive to energy changes, Zara explained patiently. There are microscopic leaks here. Over time, these leaks can cause significant loss. Kyle nodded thoughtfully. Can we repair it? Yes, we can use a special sealant my people developed. It's easy to create, Zara replied confidently. Captain. Bennett seemed convinced. All right, Zara, show Kyle and Alicia how to make it. Let's solve this once and for all. Working together, Kyle, Alicia, and Zara began crafting the sealant. Zara guided them patiently, explaining each step carefully. Kyle admired how Zara calmly led them, her gentle voice making complex processes easy to understand within a few hours. They had created enough sealant to repair the fuel system. Zara showed Kyle and Alicia how to apply it carefully. They moved quickly but carefully, sealing every microscopic crack Zara had pointed out. Once they finished, Kyle felt a deep relief and pride in their teamwork. Now let's test it, Zara. Sud, hopeful. Captain Bennett observed closely as Kyle ran tests on the repaired pipes. Everyone waited anxiously. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, Kyle turned around, a wide smile on his face. It worked. The leaks have stopped completely. Kyle announced, relief clear in his voice. Captain Bennett smiled broadly, her usual stern expression replaced by genuine happiness. Good work, everyone. Especially you, Zara. You've truly saved us. Zara smiled warmly, deeply grateful. I am happy I could help. You all have shown me kindness and saved my life. The news of Zara's success quickly spread throughout the Aurora. Crew members, initially unsure about the alien girl, now approached Zara warmly, thanking her sincerely. Zara, shy but gracious, accepted their gratitude humbly. Kyle watched with pride as Zara interacted with the crew. He felt responsible for her, grateful that she was finally accepted and safe among them. Alicia stood beside him, also smiling warmly. We did the right thing, Alicia whispered softly. Kyle nodded, agreeing completely. We really did. Days passed peacefully. Zara's health continued improving, and her bond with the crew grew stronger. She became an essential member of the Aurora, helping Kyle and Alicia with many engineering projects. The crew admired Zara's intelligence and gentle nature, quickly embracing her as one of their own. One evening, Kyle found Zara sitting alone, near the observation window, staring quietly at the stars. He sat beside her, sensing her quiet sadness. Do you miss your home, Zara? Kyle asked gently. Zara turned slowly, her eyes filled with quiet longing. Yes, I miss my family and my world. But I am also happy here. I feel safe and welcomed. Kyle placed a reassuring hand gently on her shoulder. Maybe one day we can find a way to get you home. Until then, you're not alone. Zara smiled softly, comforted by his words. Thank you, Kyle. Your friendship means a lot to me. Kyle smiled warmly, knowing he had made the right choice from the beginning. They had faced great risks, but their kindness and courage brought them all together. He was confident that no matter what the future held, they would face it together as a team. After solving the fuel problem, the atmosphere aboard the Aurora changed completely. Crew members moved about with relief and optimism. Zara quickly became popular among the crew, her calm and friendly nature making her easy to like. Kyle Evans felt happy seeing Zara accepted and comfortable, but deep inside, he worried about her homesickness. One morning, Kyle, Zara, and Alicia Grant were working on routine maintenance in the engineering bay. Kyle noticed Zara frequently glancing at the stars through the small observation window, a hint of sadness in her eyes. He felt a need to help her more deeply. Zara, Kyle said softly, breaking the quiet, do you have any idea how far your planet might be from here? Zara paused, thinking carefully. It is far, but I might recognize some star patterns if we pass near them. Maybe we can talk to Captain Bennett, Alicia suggested gently. She might be willing to help locate your homeworld. Zara smiled gratefully. Thank you. I would like that. They finished their work and approached Captain Bennett later that day. Captain Bennett listened carefully, her expression thoughtful. Finding Zara's planet would be difficult, she said carefully, but I will do everything I can. Zara has helped us greatly, and we owe her this effort. Zara's face lit up with hope. Thank you, Captain. Captain Bennett nodded kindly. Let's start by checking our star charts and seeing if anything looks familiar to Zara. Together, they began reviewing star charts on the ship's main computer. Zara carefully studied each star formation. She pointed out small details, patiently describing patterns from her memory. The process was slow, but Zara remained calm and determined. After several hours, Zara suddenly paused, her eyes wide. Here, she whispered excitedly, pointing to a particular area of the chart. These stars are near my home. Captain Bennett leaned forward, studying the map carefully. That's not too far off our course. We can adjust our route slightly to check it out. Excitement spread quickly through the Aurora when the news was shared. Everyone felt eager to help Zara return to her home. Kyle, especially, was deeply moved by the support shown by the crew. The Aurora adjusted its course, heading toward the stars Zara had recognized. The journey took several days, and Zara became both excited and anxious. Kyle and Alicia often stayed by her side, offering comfort and reassurance. As they drew closer, Zara spent hours by the observation windows, scanning the stars. Her anticipation grew each passing moment. One evening she suddenly jumped up, pointing excitedly into space. "That's my world!" she cried, her voice filled with joy. Tears filled her eyes as she stared at the small, distant planet. Captain Bennett immediately ordered the Aurora into orbit around Zara's planet. Zara became quiet, deeply emotional at seeing her home again. "I never thought I'd return," Zara said softly to Kyle and Alicia. "I owe you my life and this moment." Kyle smiled warmly. "We're just glad you're safe and happy, Zara." The Aurora crew prepared a shuttle to take Zara down to her planet. Captain Bennett allowed Kyle and Alicia to join Zara, knowing their bond had become strong. As the shuttle approached the planet, Zara eagerly described her world. They landed softly, stepping out onto a beautiful landscape of lush, green forests and shimmering blue waters. Zara took a deep breath, clearly overwhelmed by emotion. Within moments, figures emerged from the trees. They were Zara's people, their appearance similar to Zara, graceful and gentle. Zara stepped forward nervously, calling out softly in her native language. The figures paused briefly, then quickly ran forward. Surrounding Zara in a joyful reunion, Kyle and Alicia stood back respectfully, watching happily as Zara reunited with her family and friends. Zara turned toward Kyle and Alicia, smiling warmly. "Please come meet my family," Zara invited eagerly. They stepped forward, warmly welcomed by Zara's people. They spent time learning about Zara's world, culture, and traditions. Zara's family thanked Kyle and Alicia deeply, grateful for the safe return of their loved one. After several hours, it was time for Kyle and Alicia to return to the Aurora. Zara walked them back to the shuttle, her eyes filled with both happiness and sadness. "Thank you for everything," Zara whispered softly. "I will never forget you." Kyle smiled warmly, touched by Zara's sincerity. "We'll never forget you either. Zara, you've changed our lives." Zara hugged them both tightly, then stepped back, waving gently as the shuttle lifted off. Kyle and Alicia watched Zara's figure become smaller, their hearts heavy but happy knowing Zara was finally home, back aboard the Aurora. Kyle and Alicia shared their experience with the crew. Captain Bennett praised their actions, recognizing the bravery and compassion that had led them to this point. "You've both shown the best of what humanity can offer," Captain Bennett told them proudly. "I'm honored to have you aboard." The Aurora resumed its original mission, heading homeward. Kyle often found himself looking at the stars, remembering Zara and their incredible journey. Though Zara was gone, her influence remained strong among the crew. They felt closer, stronger, and more connected than ever before. Days turned into weeks, but Zara remained a constant presence in Kyle's thoughts. He often shared stories about her, reminding everyone about the importance of kindness, bravery, and friendship. One quiet evening, Kyle sat alone by the observation window, lost in thought. Alicia approached him softly, understanding his feelings. "Perfectly? Thinking about Zara?" Alicia asked gently. Kyle nodded, smiling softly. "Yes, I wonder how she's doing." "I'm sure she's happy," Alicia replied warmly. "And I'm sure she's thinking of us too." Kyle smiled, comforted by Alicia's words. "You're right. We did something amazing, didn't we?" "We really did," Alicia agreed warmly. "And I'm sure it won't be our last adventure." Kyle laughed, softly nodding in agreement. "Definitely not." They both turned their eyes back to the stars, hearts filled with hope and memories. Zara had changed them deeply, reminding them of the best qualities humanity possessed. Kyle knew he would carry that lesson forever, no matter where their next adventure took them. Several weeks passed after Zara returned to her homeworld. Life on the Aurora slowly returned to normal, but for Kyle Evans, nothing really felt the same. He still did his engineering work carefully and was respected by the crew, but he often felt a strange emptiness inside. Zara had brought something new and bright into his life, and now that she was gone, he missed her presence deeply. Alicia Grant seemed to feel the same way, though she never said it aloud. One afternoon, while Kyle was inspecting the engines, the main communication panel suddenly flashed. He looked up, curious, and saw a new incoming message. It was a long-range signal, the kind they almost never received. The entire engineering deck fell silent as Kyle played the message. A soft but clear voice filled the room. Kyle, Alicia, Captain Bennett, and the crew of Aurora, this is Zara from my homeworld. I hope this message finds you all well. My people want to thank you for returning me safely. Because of your kindness, they have decided to share something important with you. Zara's message went on to explain that her people had sent a data packet filled with advanced technology plans. The packet included blueprints for energy systems, ship improvements, and special medical devices that could save lives in emergencies. The entire crew listened in awe. It was a gift beyond anything they had imagined. Kyle felt excitement and pride. He looked at Alicia, who was smiling brightly. Captain Bennett soon arrived in the engineering bay, eager to learn more. Together, they opened the data files and began studying the new technology. Zara had also sent a personal message just for Kyle and Alicia. I miss you both and think about you every day. You showed me kindness and friendship. My world is peaceful now, and I am safe, but I hope one day we can meet again. Kyle and Alicia read her words several times, each time feeling a mixture of happiness and longing. The next days on Aurora were filled with excitement as the crew worked to understand and build the new systems. Zara's technology was unlike anything they had seen before. Energy became more efficient, engines ran smoother, and the ship even felt safer. Aurora felt alive with hope and new ideas. Kyle and Alicia worked closely together, using Zara's blueprints to upgrade the ship. Sometimes, as they soldered wires or ran diagnostics, Kyle would quietly remember the quiet moments he shared with Zara. Alicia always seemed to know when his mind drifted, giving him a small smile or a gentle touch on the shoulder. The crew's respect for Zara grew even stronger. Everyone talked about her as a symbol of hope and the best in humanity's journey through space. The Aurora's story was now different from every other ship's story. Kyle started keeping a journal, recording every step of their adventure. Not just for himself, but for anyone who might read it in the future. The new technology also brought new challenges. Some systems were difficult to understand, and there were moments when nothing worked as expected. But Kyle and Alicia never gave up. They spent long nights in the lab, working by the soft glow of the screens, laughing at mistakes and celebrating each small success. One evening, while working on a power relay, Kyle heard a soft knock at the door. It was Captain Bennett. She stepped inside, her usual calm replaced by a rare smile. Kyle, Alicia, I just wanted to thank you both, she said quietly. You took a risk and it paid off. You changed not just this ship, but maybe all of humanity's future. Kyle smiled, feeling proud but humble. Thank you, Captain. We just did what we thought was right. That's what makes you special, Captain Bennett replied. Not everyone would have shown the same kindness. The captain left, leaving Kyle and Alicia alone with their thoughts. They looked at each other, knowing the words meant a lot. As the days went by, the ship's systems improved, and the crew became more relaxed and cheerful. The Aurora felt more like a family than ever before. Sometimes, Kyle and Alicia would tell the story of Zara to the newer crew members, describing the strange, wonderful day when they found her in the storage bay. One afternoon, Alicia found Kyle by the observation window. The stars stretched forever, twinkling quietly outside. Do you think we'll ever see her again? Alicia asked softly. Kyle shook his head, uncertain. I hope so. But even if we don't, I think Zara will always be with us in some way. Alicia nodded. She changed everything, didn't she? She did, Kyle said. And she showed us how important it is to be kind, no matter what. Alicia smiled, looking at the stars. That's a good lesson. Later, the Aurora received another message. This time from Earth, the leaders of the space program were amazed by the improvements Zara's technology had brought to the ship. They requested full reports and even sent messages of thanks to Kyle, Alicia, and the entire crew. Kyle wrote his report carefully, making sure to explain everything honestly and simply. He described how a single act of kindness helping a lost and starving girl led to discoveries that would help all of humanity. He ended his report with a hopeful message, encouraging everyone to look for the good in others, even in the farthest reaches of space. The days blended gently into each other. The Aurora's mission continued, but everything felt lighter, more hopeful. The crew worked with new confidence, always remembering the lessons Zara had brought them. Kindness, courage, and friendship would always be their guiding lights. One night, as Kyle sat alone in his quarters, he opened his journal and wrote a simple line. Sometimes, the smallest choice can change the universe. He closed the book, smiled softly, and went to sleep, dreaming of distant stars, new adventures, and the gentle, shining light of friendship that had changed everything. The Aurora glided smoothly through the endless sea of stars, its engines humming with a new, steady power. Weeks had passed since Zara's technology transformed the ship, and the lives of everyone aboard were richer and more hopeful. The days felt peaceful, almost easy compared to the difficult times before. But in Kyle Evans's heart, there was still a gentle ache, something like longing for a friend who was far away, but never forgotten. Kyle woke each morning to the sound of the engine, knowing Zara's gift was at work. He spent his days working with Alicia Grant, improving old systems and solving new puzzles with the tools and knowledge Zara's people had provided. The Aurora's crew grew more skilled and confident with each passing week. Captain Bennett praised everyone for their hard work, and the sense of family on the ship grew even stronger. Yet, there were moments of quiet when Kyle would look out at the endless space and think of Zara. He wondered if she looked at the same stars, and if she missed her time on Aurora as much as he did. Sometimes Alicia would join him by the window, and together they would sit in silence, comforted just by knowing the other understood. One quiet afternoon, as the Aurora moved past a sparkling blue nebula, a soft chime echoed through the ship. It was the communication panel, another long-range message. The entire crew hurried to the main deck, excitement and curiosity in the air. Captain Bennett opened the channel. On the screen appeared Zara, her blue skin glowing softly, her eyes bright with happiness. She was not alone. Behind her, Kyle could see her family and friends, all smiling and waving gently at the camera. "Hello, Aurora crew," Zara's voice rang out, clear and cheerful. "I bring greetings from my world. My people want you to know how much your kindness changed everything for us. Thanks to your help and friendship, our two worlds are no longer strangers." The crew erupted in warm applause, their smiles bright. Zara continued, "We have learned so much from your ways. Now we want to invite you to visit our world as friends, not just as rescuers. There are many things we can share and learn from each other." Captain Bennett responded warmly, promising to bring the Aurora to Zara's world at the next safe opportunity. The message left everyone on the ship feeling excited and proud. It was the first time anyone from Earth had been invited to an alien world as honored guests, not just explorers or survivors. As the days went on, the Aurora prepared for the journey. Kyle, Alicia, and the entire crew worked together to make sure the ship was ready for a new adventure. There was laughter in the halls and a feeling of unity everywhere. When the time finally came, the Aurora changed course. The crew watched eagerly as Zara's planet came into view, a swirl of green and blue, surrounded by gentle clouds. As the ship landed, Zara and her people welcomed the crew with open arms and kind words. The Aurora's crew stepped onto new soil, their hearts full of wonder. Zara's world was beautiful, peaceful, and filled with music and color. Kyle and Alicia joined Zara's family for a meal, learning about the traditions and joys of her people. Captain Bennett and the other officers met with Zara's leaders, discussing the future and possibilities of shared journeys. Over the next days, the two groups learned much from each other. The Aurora's crew taught Zara's people about human technology and stories from Earth. In return, Zara's people shared new ideas for health, energy, and ways to bring peace among different worlds. Kyle and Alicia found time to explore the forests and rivers of Zara's world. They met children who laughed and played, and elders who shared wise stories of the past. Everywhere they went, they were welcomed as friends, not outsiders. Zara often joined them, her happiness shining bright as she showed them the wonders of her home. One night, under a sky full of unfamiliar stars, Zara, Kyle, and Alicia sat together on a soft hill overlooking a gentle river. They talked about the strange journey that had brought them all together the day Kyle had found Zara. In the dark storage bay, scared and hungry, drinking fuel to stay alive. "You saved me," Zara said softly. "But you also changed my life. My world will never forget your kindness." Kyle smiled. "You saved us too, Zara. Without you, we would never have solved the fuel problem." Alicia nodded. "You taught us to trust, to be open, and to believe in something bigger than ourselves." They sat quietly, feeling the soft night wind and the warmth of new friendship. In that moment, it was clear to all of them that their worlds would always be linked, not just by technology or science, but by kindness, courage, and hope. When it was time to leave, Zara and her people gave the Aurora crew gifts crystals that glowed softly, full of peaceful energy. Zara hugged Kyle and Alicia tightly. "Wherever you go, remember that you have friends here," she whispered. "We will," Kyle promised as the Aurora rose back into space. The crew watched Zara's world grow small behind them. The ship was quiet, but the feeling inside was one of pure happiness. They had made history not with force, but with friendship and trust. In the weeks that followed, the Aurora returned to its travels, but everything had changed. News of the visit to Zara's world spread across human space. Other ships and worlds wanted to learn about Zara's people, hoping to build new friendships too. Kyle continued his work, helping to teach other crews about the new technology and the lessons they had learned. Alicia became known as a leader in sharing stories about Zara and her world. Captain Bennett often spoke of the importance of kindness and trust, reminding everyone that small acts of help could change the future for countless lives. Kyle sometimes sat alone by the window, looking at the stars and remembering every part of the journey. He wrote in his journal, recording every detail. The Aurora was more than a ship now. It was a symbol of what could happen when people chose to help others, even strangers from distant stars. As time moved forward, Kyle knew that their story would live on, guiding future explorers and travelers. No matter where the Aurora went, a part of Zara's world would always travel with them, a gentle light in the darkness, reminding everyone that kindness is the greatest power in the universe.